All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, as always, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha HaKodash, double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Salutations to you, sincere and hopeful elect Akim, pushing the word of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, in spirit and in truth. Ma'a Arabayim Arabai, a lot, which is to say 144,000 in the Lashwan Kodash. All right, coming back at you with another lesson through the Spirit. And in this lesson, I want to touch upon Eminent Domain, which with these AI data centers, Esau is pulling out the Eminent Domain card and forcing people to pretty much sell their property. You know, these mega companies are buying people's homes by force. These people don't want to sell. They're forcing these people to sell their property, their land, so that way these AI data centers can be built. And one thing about it is, we'll get into it, but with the process of eminent domain, the house is supposed to be sold at a fair price. Okay, so if you have a house that you put time and effort into, you know, money, you fixed it up, you did repairs, you know, and you got it appraised, you know, you might have bought it for $250,000. All right, and via all the upgrades and things you've done on your house, it might be worth $700,000 at that point. What people are finding out that are in these situations in which these mega companies that are trying to pretty much buy their property for the purpose of these AI data centers being built, they're not getting a fair value on their house. Okay, the appraisals that these AI data centers, you know, the people that's in charge of the eminent domain, these companies, they're getting these people's houses appraised and pretty much robbing them. Okay, taking tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars off the appraisal, and then these people that are actually own the house get it appraised through a separate company, and it's far higher in value than what, you know, the government is saying. Okay, so that's one thing, you know, to take note of with this whole situation, because there's a lot of people going online complaining about eminent domain pretty much taking away what they've built. Okay, or years of hard work. You know, certain houses had whole families, you know, raised in that house. You know, from a child. You know, you have certain children that are grown now, whose memories go back to that piece of land or whatever. You know, now for the most part, this is affecting Edomites when it comes to properties being taken via eminent domain, in which we can give a fuck less about them. Yet, to prove the point of Esau being a devil, you know, you ain't supposed to do that. All right, that's covered in someone's land. Okay, that's removing landmarks. You know, this one video a brother had put up. There's a woman that was stating that, you know, the government wants to take part of her land, and pretty much the border that they want to encroach upon is pretty much her backyard, which means that her whole pool that was built, her and her family built a pool, a in-ground pool. You know, that pool would actually get destroyed, you know, for the purpose of the AI data center, and I think she said something about like 8 feet from her house would be like she would only have 8 feet of a buffer zone of backyard after this is accomplished. All right. So Esau, all around proves himself to be the devil. Okay. So I want to get this from DeepSeek. And as you can see here, it says, I typed in what is the etymology for both eminent and domain. It says here is the etymology for each word. Eminent comes from the Latin eminentum, meaning standing out, projecting, or prominent, formed from the prefix ex, out of, plus menere, related to mons, mountain. Okay. Literally to stand out like a mountain. So eminent domain literally suggests a standing out or a high authority over land. Okay, so in the scriptures, a mountain or a government is compared to as a mountain. Okay, so the government is pretty much saying they have first dibs and the last say so on all of this stolen land. All right, now look at Mount Rushmore. That was a sacred mountain to Gad. I forget exactly what tribe it was, but that was a sacred mountain to them. And what Esau do? He desecrated it by putting, 4 devils, on the face of it. Okay, etched their faces into that mountain, Mount Rushmore, showing that this is who conquered this land. All right, and it's set in stone, so to say. Continuing on, it says domain. It says comes from the Latin dominium, meaning property, ownership, or right of ownership. Dominium itself derives from dominus, meaning lord, master, or owner. So Esau is flat out telling these people, look, I'm the Lord, I'm the master of this land. I own this land. Okay. It says, so domain refers to the realm or territory over which a lord or authority has control. So Esau is letting you know that the government has control over the property that you thought you owned, that you pay taxes on, that you pay a land tax, you pay a mortgage on this house. That means nothing to Esau. Okay. It says, thus, eminent domain combines the idea of supreme or projecting authority with ownership, territory, the government's high power over all property within its realm. That's demonic. All property within its realm. So, from north, south, east, west of Babylon the Great, the government is saying we own everything. We don't care if you have a family ranch or family farm, that's been in, inherited and passed down for generations. When the time arises, they will get you out of there. All right, just like it was a certain family. I want to say I forget what I want to say the Bundys. That was in Oregon. They owned a lot of ranch land, if I'm not mistaken, like hundreds of acres. And the government just went in and took it from them. They even I believe shot the husband or something like that on the side of the road. And this was probably a good 7-8 years ago. Okay. They just went and debowed their land, man. Now, jumping back up, it says, here's a straightforward explanation because I asked, explain to me eminent domain. All right, so I'm going to run through this and then grab some scriptures. It says eminent domain is the power of the government to take private property for public use as long as they pay the owner fair compensation. Now, an AI data center is not for public use. All right. The public can't just go to one of these AI data centers and just open the door and just go look at the servers. You know what I'm saying? Take pictures and selfies in front of the servers. Go in there and get information. Going with a hard drive or floppy disk or a removable thumb drive and take whatever information they want. They can't do that. Okay, so that the fact that these AI data centers are being used or actually the eminent domain is being used by the government, via these AI data centers to take people's land is by definition of what eminent domain is wrong, is erroneous. Okay, because it says once again, eminent domain is the power of the government to take private property for public use. All right, so the public is not going to benefit from a goddamn AI data center as long as they pay the owner fair compensation. All right, in which you got to be out your mind to think and believe that they actually would do that. Think of it as the government's legal right to condemn or take land even if the owner doesn't want to sell. And that's just flat out wrong, man. There's an account in 2 Kings where one of the kings wanted a certain Israelite's land or his vineyard, and it was what's that wicked bitch name? Jezebel, I believe, who convinced, I forget the name of her husband, the king, where she convinced, she put a bug in, somebody's ear to have him killed. The individual who didn't want to sell his vineyard, and she paid some bread and had him stoned, lied on him, had him stoned. And, then, he was able to get that vineyard. Okay. So there was judgment that came down on him for that, both Jezebel and her husband. So the Lord is not, he's not with someone just taking someone's land. Okay. Now the whole continental America, the Western Hemisphere, anywhere Esau is for that fact is stolen land. Okay, and then the land that was given him, the land of Edom, he don't even want that land. He's not even over there. Okay, so there's a great judgment coming to America because of all of its wickedness. So key points, it says public use can include roads, schools, parks, utilities, or redevelopment projects that benefit the community. And the AI data center is not a benefit to the community. It actually pumps out, radiation. I think there was something a brother had sent earlier that said that some of those AI data centers have, they'll be pumping out as much radiation as some odd number of like nuclear bombs, which is crazy to think about. So imagine you live like your backyard, you walk into your backyard and you getting fried because you're so close in proximity to a goddamn AI data center. All right, where your swimming pool used to be is the parking lot where niggas park their cars to go in that demonic facility. Okay. Just compensation, it says, means the owner must be paid fair market value for the property, what a willing buyer would pay. Legal basis, it says in the U.S. it comes from the Fifth Amendment's takings clause. Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. Okay, so Esau being in a position of power, he can just write into law whatever the hell he wants to write into law. Okay, like who the hell is Esau to have the audacity to just, yeah, we can take your land if we want to, you know what I'm saying, and just as long as it's sold at market value, which they themselves control the market. All right, so America is completely corrupt, man. You know, we can't say that enough. And that's why we want to see this place destroyed, man. All right, it says common example. It says if the state wants to widen the highway and needs part of your front yard, they can take it. They'll appraise the land, offer you payment, and if you disagree, you can challenge the amount or the public use in court. Controversial use. Sometimes eminent domain is used for economic development. Example given, transferring land to a private company to build a factory or a mall. Okay. The 2005 Supreme Court case Kello versus New London allowed this, but many states later passed laws restricting it for purely private economic gain. All right. It says, in short, it's a government's power to acquire private land for public projects with a constitutional requirement to pay you fairly. Now, in the kingdom of heaven, and, you know, just a custom of the Israelites, your land is your land, okay? That's your inheritance, all right? And nobody can you know, make you give that up or just boot you out your land. Even the king can't tell you, yeah, we're taking over this land. All right, yeah, you got to give this up. This is ours now. We want to build a aqueduct. You know, we want to build a highway, a King's Highway Part 4. Okay, that's against the law, man. For us Israelites, that's not part of our customs. All right, so this is Amos 8:4 in the NLT. It says, "Listen to this, you who rob the poor and trample down the needy." Now we know that this was referring to the Israelites in times past, but being that Esau claimed to be us, all right, took the book and said it, you know, they are the people of the book. All right, curses is going to fall upon them. So what happened to us as Israelites is now happening to the Edomites. Okay, so Esau, he tramples down the needy, you know, and he robs the poor because, you know, the wealth that somebody has that is still making payments on their mortgage, you know, for a house they so-called own, is nothing in comparison to the wealth of these technocrats that are behind these AI data centers being built. All right, so they're trampling down the needy. They're robbing the poor. Okay, because a lot of those people that own these houses is a paycheck away from poverty. Okay, in all kind of debt. The only thing keeping them afloat is you know, credit cards. You know, and they're doing bad with that now. All right, missing car payments. All right, you name it. Next precept, this is Micah 2 and 1 in the NLT. It says, "What sorrow awaits you who lie awake at night thinking of evil plans? You rise at dawn and hurry to carry them out simply because you have the power to do so. Eminent domain. They got the power to boot somebody out their house, so they're going to do it. And then have your house appraised at a cheap cost to gyp you a couple $100,000. All right. And then if you you got to go to court to refute that, which will cost money. Which the elites, they got money to just continuously drag shit out in court, but the average person doesn't. The average family doesn't. So they have no choice but to settle for pennies. All right. So this society is completely wicked, man. Completely wicked. All right. Verse 2, it says, when you want a piece of land, you find a way to seize it. Eminent domain. Esau is the devil. Okay. They find a piece of land and go to demonic means to acquire it. And just ripping people off, stealing from people. All right. When you want someone's house, you take it by fraud and violence. You cheat a man of his property, stealing his family's inheritance. All right. Because despite them being Edomites, for the most part, the people that are affected by eminent domain, people that so-called own these houses, that's Edomites affected by that. And for them, as far as their lineage goes back to their so-called ancestors here in America, that's a lot of their inheritance down the drain. Just hijacked by the government. Okay. So, Esau gonna be in an uproar about that. All right, and eventually gonna be up in arms. All right. Verse 3 says, but this is what the Lord Yahweh says. And once again, this was talking about Israelites in times past. All right. Talking about our people. Now, once again, like I said, the third time, Esau, Edom taking this this will be the second time I'm saying this, but Esau, Edom taking the book into his possessions, claiming to be the people of the book, these curses, in judgments found in the scriptures is now applying to him. All right, so verse 3 says, but this is what the Lord Yahweh says, I will reward you, Salakia, I will reward your evil with evil. You won't be able to pull your neck out of the noose. You will no longer walk around proudly, for it will be a terrible time. Okay, so this time is it's gonna be all bad. All right. Second Ezra is about to hit. The 16th chapter. Okay, matter of fact, let's grab that real quick. Because along with these AI data centers going up, you're gonna have people just being booted out of their houses. Okay, so real quick, this is Second Ezra 16 and verse. Now, this we know primarily is referring to Israel, because the scripture says that the main people that's going to be targeted is those that fear the Lord. All right, so verse 70. So let me read this. Second Ezra 16 and 70 says, for there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. So that's talking about the Israelites. All right, because we are the only people that actually fear the Lord. Yahweh Shem Shai. All right. They shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. Okay. For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. And, eminent domain is a way in which people is going to be cast out of their houses. All right. Now this going into martial law, Jacob's trouble, when it's all bad out here, Jacob's trouble being at its climax, you know, everybody catching hell, Israelites being targeted. All right. Civil war, civil unrest. All right. You're gonna have people just being just houses ransacked by government troops, and nothing people gonna be able to do. Okay, so grabbing this last precept here in Habakkuk 2, verse 5 in the NLT, it says, "Wealth is treacherous, and the arrogant are never at rest. They open their mouths as wide as the grave, and like death, they are never satisfied. In their greed, they have gathered up many nations and swallowed many people." Okay? So, through the greed of the American government, a lot of people have been destroyed, at the hands of the government, man. How greedy it is. Okay? Whenever there's a bailout, these banks get bailed out using taxpayers' money. The banks get bailed out, but the people that can actually that need to get bailed out, the citizens, they just get left high and dry, man. Okay? Verse 6, it says, "But soon their captives will taunt them. They will mock them, saying, 'What sorrow awaits you thieves? Now you will get what you deserve. You become rich by extortion. But how much longer can this go on?'" And this can't go on much longer. The national debt is at $40 trillion, man. When Trump first got in office, it was 37 trillion, and it's already $40 trillion. And once this oil stops flowing, all right, when this oil runs out, which is projected to run out by the 4th of July, it's a wrap. Okay, it's a wrap, because the crude oil that we have here in Babylon is of a thicker grade, and we actually need oil that comes from the Middle East, because it's not as thick of a crude oil, which is preferable. All right, and so this oil that we have here, this crude oil we have here in America, actually has to get refined in other countries. So things is gonna get real bad, man. All right, but with all the thievery and just this current presidential cabinet of geeks and dorks robbing everybody, that can only go on for so much longer before people just blow a head gasket. Verse 7, "Suddenly your debtors will take action. They will turn on you and take all you have while you stand trembling and helpless." Now, this scripture here, all right, talking about Esau, Edom, and once again, talking about Esau, Edom in these times. In a historical sense, it applied to Israelites, yet we can apply this to Esau in current times, okay, just to qualify the scripture. All right, so when these people come with their civil unrest, with they crash out, these elites is going to be trembling and helpless. All right, Bill Gates. Could you imagine a group of people ready to crash out? Catch this guy somewhere. When society collapses, his whole whatever fortified, bunker or house he's in gets actually broken into, and people are gonna be ready to, send that guy to the spirit realm, man. So he'd be trembling and helpless. All right, that geek. All right. Um, as it also says in Second Ezra, that the course of their actions shall stand in their power. So when these people crash out, man, you know, they gonna mean business. Verse 8, because you have plundered many nations, now all the survivors will plunder you. Okay? And ultimately, this going into Babylon being the nation that has plundered, other nations. The whole world has been plundered by Esau, Edom, um, by way of America. Okay? Just recently, Venezuela. Now they talking about going into Cuba and taking Cuba, So, Esau has been, aka America has been the plunderer, of the world. But now these nations is soon going to plunder this place. Okay. It says you committed murder through the countryside and filled the towns with violence. All right. It says what sorrow awaits you who build big houses with money gained dishonestly. You believe your wealth will buy security, putting your family's nest beyond the reach of danger. Okay, and so all these technocrat billionaires and trillionaires care about their families and their families only. All right. Look at the case of Donald Trump. All right, his son, Barron Trump, is, is a millionaire, sitting on his ass doing nothing. A millionaire. He's setting him up for, to be the heir to his throne. His Donald Trump Jr., I think that's his name. If I'm not mistaken, this dude doing business over in Ukraine, amassing a bunch of wealth. So these these elites, whether they're lesser elites or upper elites, they only care about putting their family beyond the reach of danger. Okay, but nothing you do in trying to put your family above the reach of danger is going to save them from a ICBM missile, or if they survive that, the spiritual power that the men of the Lord is going to come back down to the earth in the form of New Jerusalem and utilize to put your ass in chains, man, because of all this wickedness. All right, so I just wanted to bring that out. That was edifying. Esau is using this eminent domain to pretty much bring about, mass homelessness. Okay, homelessness, sickness, death. Okay, forcing people to crash out. You name it. We in the end, you're gonna see like Elder Yashawamba has been saying lately, polycrisis. All right. So this was edifying. Until next time. Shalom.